Great stuff. So first of all, apologies for absence.
No apologies. As of 5:30 to 9.
Oh, Wendy sent
I think
apologies.
Wendy sent apologies. I did see it in the
Oh, did
email.
she?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was way back though.
Beyond that, Stephen Moons sent apologies, so I know he's not here.
Okay, we know those.
Yeah, Wendy had another meeting this evening.
Right.
So.
But I've not heard about anybody
Okay,
else.
that's fine. Right, thank you very much. Item 2, declaration of interest and items on the agenda. Are there any written requests for dispensation? No. And therefore nothing to consider.
No.
Right, thank you. Item 3, to agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 3rd of November, which have been circulated. Are they an accurate record of the meeting?
Perfect.
Those who can remember back to November last year. Everyone happy with the minutes from the meeting on the 3rd of November?
They'll have to be. We won't be, I don't think.
Right, they've been agreed. Thank you very much indeed. Public open session, no members of the public. Move on. Item 5, to agree the bank reconciliations and accounts for payment, which have been circulated.
Yeah.
Is everyone, I'm not trying to rush things, but so
There were,
if anybody wants to raise any questions, please do. Okay.
3 additional ones. St Mark's office hire, Otis, which is the lift servicing, and SLCC, which is my membership,
Yeah.
239.56, and that's it. So
Right, okay.
they're all there.
Can we formally agree those, please?
Yes.
Agreed.
Right, thank you very much. Now, I know a member of the public has arrived, and we've just gone past that item on the agenda, but I'm very happy to go back to it. No? Okay, well, thank you. In which case, we're going to move on to item 5.2, which is to consider and agree the budget for 2023 to 24. So I sent out an email the other day with the spreadsheet. Try to get it done a bit earlier than I've done before, so you guys haven't been justifiably criticised for not doing it until the day of the meeting.
Does
So-
anybody else need a paper copy? No? Okay.
So what we normally do, and also I've tabled this evening some notes to support the budget, which I'm happy to talk through either now or towards the end. And what we normally do, we normally go through section by section, and if anybody wants to make any amendments, we can do that as we go through. And then we normally normally deal with the expenditure first, and then come back to the income side at the back end of that process. So therefore, if that's okay with you, I'm going to jump down from past general income to the staff cost items from row 17 down to 24. So basically, this is and just to reiterate what I said in the notes I circulated on the table this evening. It's pretty much a continuation budget from last year, and it's actually drawn out as a standstill, i.e. no change in cost of residence. It's a marginal decrease in terms of precept, but it's the same price in terms of a Band D rate. But so therefore, when you look at the items, there are some minor ups and downs in the different headings, but overall it could be a zero change cost. So in the staff cost area, we have got some changes in the salary, NIC and pension line because of increase in scales and what have you, but otherwise, is everyone happy with that section?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Under admin then, section from line 25 down to 38. So again, there are some comments in the right-hand side in the notes, by the way, you may know that we are expecting probably a minor increase in the rental cost for the office. Sue's hoping to reduce cost on postage because we're trying to do more emails than sending out stuff by post.
Well, it's many allotments that we spend a lot of money sending out rents, trying to get that.
And
really
otherwise, hopefully, it's self-explanatory. Is everyone happy with that section of the budget?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Move on to general expenses, which is from row 39 down to 56. So again, this is all the fairly box hand items. It is including budgetary provision for the resumption of the Parish Council newsletter, and includes costs for actually potentially 5. We've had the quote from White Hart Press now
Yeah.
for, and that quote is within the budget figure that's on the page there.
Okay.
There's also a minor, there's an increase on website hosting and management. Otherwise, I think it's fairly similar to the previous. We keep budgeting for councillor training. It's obviously down to the councillors to attend training or not. If and when we have new councillors next after May, then I jolly well hope that they will attend lots of training courses and it's to cover their costs for that. Is everyone happy with that part? I should also say it does also cover, there's some costs there for the notice boards, as Sue pointed out, some of them getting a bit ropey, especially the one at the beginning of Ashmead Road. So potentially we might either do replacement of the perspex, which is some of those are getting very scratched and what have you. Either that or an actual replacement of the board, a board itself. Is everyone happy with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Some subscriptions costs from rows 57 to 60 with the standard BATPC and the National Society of Local Gardeners. Standard. Nothing much different on that one. Is everyone happy with that? Our next one is from row 61 to 78, which is the allotments, where there are some changes around, again, salary costs changing. Key point to note is that we're expecting or hoping not to have any block clearance charges, I think, or little anyway. We've got a small budgetary provision for that, but we're really trying to avoid that as much as we can.
Yeah.
So we are trying to reduce the cost in the allotments, but it's a continual struggle to achieve that. So I think if you look overall, the budget for next year is just marginally a bit less than the budget for this current financial year. Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. I've also, the allotment income, I'll talk about the allotment income here if I may. At the Allotment Open Spaces Committee we had the other week, we have agreed to increase the rent for the allotments. It will only take effect for new tenants from June, and it won't take effect. Basically means that the next set of income will be pretty much entirely based upon the existing rent. We have to give 6 months notice, which means that people will be renewing in April and paying on the current rent levels. So we formally agreed to increase it, pretty much in line with inflation, having missed out a couple of years, I think. And we may review it again within the next year. We might even increase it again in time before the following April. But it's just we've just put us into a position where at least we've recognised that we're perhaps charging a bit less than we ought to be. So
I assume the allotments are still oversubscribed. You still got a waiting list for them.
Yeah.
Of Brickhill residents, yeah.
Well, and a huge waiting list for non-Brickhill residents.
Right. Okay. No, fair enough.
So we're still priority to Brickhill residents. So can we have to note that part of the allotment income part, which is 979 down to 85? Is that okay? Right. So then, I'll point out that I've put out a possible amendment in the sheet that's on the table, but I'll come back to that at the end of this if I may. So under initiatives, there's these are all little bits and pieces here. So I'm hoping that we'll finish off the neighbourhood plan in the next financial year. So there's a bit of money for that. A bit more money for the Christmas tree, Waveney Green. We've got lighting, basic lighting costs, isn't it? So,
putting them on and off.
On off. Grants, because we've not been overwhelmed at all with grants from applications from residents. Sue's suggesting we reduce that to 500. Again, we can see how that goes. Gathering debris, it says here 0, so it's suggesting not to do that in the next financial year. So it's not an overwhelming groundswell of people may like it, but it's a lot of work and it's very much dependent on the weather, so it's always very risky as to how much benefit we get from it. Spring meal, I'll come back to that if I may at the end of this. But otherwise, I'd be happy. I'm sorry, I'm being premature. And then there's 2 contributions to reserves. There's a transport initiative. So We spent £75,000 on the average speed cameras and £10,000 on the Grasscrete parking in Woodlands. And this is just basically to top up that element in the reserves budget, which can be used for similar or like similar-ish projects in the future.
Yeah.
Parish Council signs nothing budgeted for family to support wildfire meadow plans for future Sue's outlined, but so this is a budgetary discussion rather than a detailed discussion. CCTV monitoring. So we've got £6,100 here, which is the basic. That's the cost.
Well, for whatever reason, I don't know if you want to say, the borough have only been charging us for 7 cameras, but we have more than 7 cameras. So my feeling is that we will now get charged for more, because obviously we're going to be replacing the cameras that are, well, I hope they've possibly been replaced now. They were due to be done on the 3rd and 4th of January, the ones at Woodlands Park. I haven't been up there, actually. The ones at the Owl Park. We had an email from SQ to say they were being done on the 3rd and 4th. So that's now flagged up, I think, to the borough. We have these additional cameras that they thought were theirs. So I think we'll start getting charged now for the extra ones.
It's fast, we didn't.
Okay. Thank you, Sue.
So just clarify then that we're responsible for the entire maintenance, replacement, whatever of those cameras if they, for some reason, go faulty or get vandalised. It's a parish council.
Those ones are.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
and we pay a maintenance contract to ACE to maintain them. They come each year to check on them.
And we have insurance for those because they're
and we well, I'll mention it later, but we've got approval for the insurance claims.
Okay. Good stuff, thank you. And then there's an item for contribution towards to really top up this fund we have in reserves around Woodlands Park, which could go towards more benches or whatever else is deemed to be useful. Then the cost for the fountain in Brooksmead for electricity charges, and and I think that's it. Is everyone happy with that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Then move on to Waveney Green and Motorway Walk play areas. That's from lines 101 to 115. There's quite a lot of things there. So basically, ones I just call out, if I may. Again, we've got a staff cost bit. And a key thing is we are going to be paying our litter picker, Dave, the National New Living Wage.
Yeah, because we need to increase that. Put a note on there. So I did take the initiative and contact Pam, who does the payroll, and say once we realised that we did need to increase that. So she's now increased it and backdated it to April. So you will get that payment through. So I think that is what we should do, really. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And obviously going forward,
There's also an increase for tree maintenance for next year in anticipation of doing a bit more tree maintenance on the green, whether it's trimming the conifer tree or other stuff as well.
We will need to do the tree. It's far too big, so I will get that done. But also
problems with it.
well, I don't think it was Father Christmas. I think there was men climbing up in their litter picker that were having problems with it. It couldn't reach the top. It's too tall and it's too wide. So we're going to.
Right. And then we've got some contribution to reserves, which is around footpaths for Waveney Green, play area for motor walk, and also play area for Waveney Green as well. So that's money to top up our reserve headings for those items, if that's okay. And then a contingency amount. Are those all right as they are laid out?
That's good.
Thank you very much. And last item is the Brickhill Community Centre, where we've got responsibility for the fabric of the building. The Community Association looks after the running costs and the minor bits and pieces, but we do the roof, the walls, the windows, the plumbing, that type of thing, drains. And so I think we've been gradually managing to spend less, I think it's fair to say, which is, without skimping.
Well, I think we did a lot of work, didn't we, a few years ago, where we refurbished toilets and whatever else. And
but the good news is on the running costs, I think we're managing to get that's under control, I think. And so I don't think we're not getting complaints, are we, Stuart?
Just about ticking over.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah. So that's what that budget tries to do there. It allows us to keep things ticking over properly and put a little bit more into the reserves in case we do end up with when we do get an expensive item at some point.
There are potential big expenses if we have to do anything with the lift shaft.
Yeah.
Lift shaft.
Yeah, so we didn't replace the line with the lift shaft. That's been the problem with the water getting in there, whatever. But we have got funds in the reserves which could cover that.
Yeah. Fingers crossed we won't have to do that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all the expenditure bit, and then I'm going to go back to the front if I may and talk about the income. So it is based upon only very few items. So really it's in anticipation of getting advertising income again through the newsletter as when we start it. Fit payments off the panels on top of the community centre. VAT reclaimed from the items which we're buying.
From last year,
Yeah, so this is to
We
clarify
spent
into.
it, yeah.
So we would get it back a year later. Is that right? So that's
Yeah.
like £13,000 expected next year, despite the fact this year we're only getting back 9,000 odd pounds.
Yeah, so what we spend in this financial year,
Yeah.
we claim back after the 1st of
Okay.
April. So we effectively know what we're going to be claiming back. So we know what the income coming in next year will be,
Yeah.
because we'll know as soon as it comes to the end of March. Because
And there's also, thank you, Sue. And there's also a certain amount of interest which is due in from our accounts, which may be a bit higher than that. So that as laid out requires, what I'm proposing is a precept of £124,600, which equates to no change in terms of the Band D council tax for residents of Brickhill. Okay. Is that okay as it stands so far? But before we agree that, can I just talk to the amendment which is on the sheet in front of you? So we have in that draft budget, it does show the senior citizens spring meal of £1,050. And given there's a lot of talk about cost of living crisis and what have you, and a lot of families are suffering from the current economic situation, a suggestion is that we work with the local schools and preschools, sorry, get it right, to provide support to some of those families who are in a bad way. Now, the only feedback I've seen, the only information I've seen has been a comment from Brickhill Primary School, where, from what I read, it looks very, a valid case for support. But what I'm suggesting really is to say, agree a budget item here today, but then, because it's a fair amount of money and it's us giving money away, I really would like to see a proper proposal which we can formally agree at a future meeting. So simply today would be to agree a budget, and then hopefully in the next meeting we'd agree whatever the mechanics would be of that. So we can then say, we can agree at what it would be, and then obviously in a year's time we can say, was that good, was it not good, do we want to do it again? Is that any...
Well, if I can come in, Chair. Wendy and I have spoken to the schools, and we know that some parents are facing real hardship at the moment, and we know about the difficulty some parents are having choosing between how they spend money in terms of looking after basic needs for the children, and you've got the old eating dilemma. And we're fortunate at the moment that we haven't got severe cold weather, but we know how bad it was when it was a bit grim recently. So we've allocated some money from our ward fund, so we have spoken to the schools and the preschools, and we know that there are children who are from families who are facing difficult needs. So we've already allocated some of our ward fund. Now, we haven't got a lot of ward fund, so there's not a great deal that we can do, but we do think it's an important need, and having spoken to the head teachers, I would very much support it.
Any questions? Answer.
Yes, sorry, Chair, can I just clarify then? So, in this model, the senior citizen spring meal, which for obvious reasons hasn't happened for at least a couple of years, that's defunct then. The proposal is potentially, after the proposal, blah, 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 and all the rest of it, to refocus that on parents of school-aged children, not senior citizens.
Families,
Kids, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we're not doing both.
No.
No.
And so what you see at the bottom there, if you come back to what's the spreadsheet, just saying, rename number 91, row 91 in that spreadsheet, to what, probably don't want to call children in need, but it's that something equivalent to supporting children in need. And then reducing the footpaths maintenance for contribution in Waveney Green from 10,000 down to £6,050. Now, we didn't spend the 10,000 this year. It's a continual battle, Waveney Green, because the paths are continually cracking. You know, if we was to spend £16,050 next financial year, we'd make a bit of we'd catch up a bit. So it's spending £16,050 instead of spending 20,000. So it's 25% rough.
I think we put it down there, but we probably will spend. But if the weather looks like it's going to be like it has been last year, I think we need to hold off again, because that really dry weather didn't do any good to the paths any good. It's not made them dangerous, but there are cracks appearing, and in theory we might be able to fill them. But on the other hand, if we've got another summer like the one we've just finished last year, we might be struggling with that.
Right.
I think.
But I take the point, Sue, but in simple budgeting terms, I'm just suggesting that's a way of
just saying.
we can budget as it is in total cost terms, and it gives us still gives us room to do resurfacing of footpaths, repairs of footpaths, but also providing some potential cash for a scheme to support children for families who are.
It's your budget, and I'm just clerk, but I think somewhere along the line you need to think about that senior citizen thing in the future. I don't think it could work it isn't going to work in March because we've got the issue. Because I think it's quite nice to have something for every age group in your budget somewhere.
Right.
We do have quite a bit, don't we, for...
So,
I don't know.
Let's not talk too much about merits. Can we focus? Sorry.
We're not here to dole out things to everybody, and we're not. It's got to be targeted, right? Which I agree with the targeting bit. I'm not convinced that somehow that's in addition to something that we've already stopped. So I'm not convinced about that at all. I mean, in terms of the budget though, and the footpath repairs, you happen to have taken the budget line item for footpath repairs and reduced that to then focus that back onto this proposed children in need thing. Okay. However, there are other line items in the budget that we don't necessarily spend either. So it's not cut in stone that is going to be that number for the footpath repairs. It could be the same as it was, depending on what we spend on other things.
Yeah.
Right? So
and also because actually footpaths would come out of reserves. If it's over the, we have this soon. I have this conversation about how the alpha system works, where each pound comes from. Does it come from the current account? Does it come from the reserves? But at the end of the day, it's money from the parish council's funds. Basically, if we end up spending more than 10k, we'll be dipping into the reserves amount type of thing. So, and we have got more money in the reserves for.
Yeah, so that's okay. So
I mean, honestly, having worked in schools and knowing the amount of need there is now, and be fully supportive of this, and youth is something that perhaps we've come away from. Gathering the Green has gone, and there's other youth initiatives that were happening in the summer holidays, and this way, many families and for the children can be supported through this. So I would wholeheartedly support it.
So, unless there's anyone else want to comment, can I propose the budget as amended, if I may? Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Okay, can I see those in favour of the budget as amended, please? That's great. Unanimous. Thank you very much. And can I therefore propose the precept of £124,600 for our precept for 23-24? Is that agreed as well? Please? Can I see a show of hands? Can I see a show of hands in favour of the precept, please? Peter, do you want to vote in favour of the precept?
Yeah,
Thank you very
I'll
much.
leave that there for you to sign.
That's agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. So that was item 5.3. Should have introduced it. Right, thank you. I'm going to move on to item 6 to receive an update about switching on of the Christmas lights in Waveney Green. Sue.
Okay, I think it was really successful. Lots of people there. We had the 2 choirs who did a really good job, didn't they? And of course, thanks to all the people that came along and helped, and to Bedford Lions, of course, for bringing Santa, which was very helpful. And I have paid the £150 donation that we agreed to pay. Peter just raised before, because tomorrow's the 12th night, are the lights going off? I said I can ask the borough very nicely if they're going to be able to nip round and switch them off, but it's...
I spoke to them today
Oh,
and
did
said,
you?
and said to come out.
Oh, is
I
it?
think tonight's 12 night.
Well, so tomorrow they should go off, you know, when they
To the day, so they don't come on tomorrow.
Yeah,
No.
They go off tonight.
They're on tonight and off tomorrow.
Yeah,
Should be
they'll-
alright, Sue. Should be alright.
we're hopeful that there will be
Yeah,
off.
they won't come on tomorrow night when it's
I'm just
dark.
grateful they're still on,
Yeah,
actually.
it's bad luck or something.
Yeah.
They were on when I came tonight. I was actually quite grateful
Good.
they were still on. I was worried over the business that they go off.
Right.
I'm told they're going back.
Right, okay, that's good. Fine, excellent. So that's that.
No, but it went well,
And
thank
obviously
you.
I'm starting to make plans for
And thank
next.
you to the councillors who turned up in the evening to help.
Yep, yeah.
Can I add to that? It's been lovely when we've driven past over the Christmas holiday. People have been standing in front of the street. It's obviously now a feature, but people have been taking selfies
Yeah.
over the Christmas
Right.
period. And
That's nice.
it's a real feature, I
Yeah.
think, of Brickhill.
But I have to
It's actually
say-
gorgeous. It's just
I was really stunned that we didn't get criticism for doing it. I was surprised we didn't.
Electric.
Nobody made any.
Well,
Negative.
well, no one's ever criticised it.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I've always been
They've
surprised.
got a tree in
that-
Ukraine, haven't they? So, yeah.
No, that's it. But you sort of half expect somebody to say, oh, that's a waste of money or whatever.
Yeah.
But nobody has ever done it.
well, there's always a challenge, isn't there?
But there's never been in the time it's been
Well,
on.
it is a stunning tree. It's beautiful.
It does look good.
But
It
may
will
be
be
a
smaller
bit-
next
bit
year.
smaller next year, exactly.
And diet.
So then you might get complaints.
So make sure we have a tree
It's
surgeon.
not from the men who have to put the
Yeah.
the lights on. I
But
can
make sure we
tell
have a
you.
tree surgeon who is sensitive and knows how to shape a tree
All right.
properly.
Right.
Not a cowboy.
Yeah, that's a good
I won't get a cowboy.
Okay, thank you. End of that item?
Yeah, that's it.
Right, okay, item 7 to receive a report from the Borough Councillors. Have we received any reports from the Borough
Have we
Councillors?
skipped on here?
Yeah, we have skipped
We're now
on
on,
something.
I know you want to leave early, but we're on 10 now. We're only on 7 at the minute. We'll move
Woodlands
forward.
Park.
Well, you're not skipping along. Well, you've
Oh,
got
right. Okay, I'm looking at
There's more fun to
the...
be had yet.
Oh, is this the old, is that the draft version of the agenda?
Oh, come on.
I
My
don't know.
apologies, I've got, this is,
No, it will be the draft because you'll have changed it. So anyway, let me
Right.
just say...
Sue, you've got the
right,
update version of the agenda.
update, this is just Woodlands Park.
Right, okay.
These are the things you added in, if you
Yes, we
remember.
added in.
Ashmead Road priorities. I haven't heard any more
Right.
since then.
No.
So Stephen Moon said he was going to take back the proposals and
Right.
the changes, but I'm no wiser if...
I've had an email yesterday from a resident up there querying that the resident had emailed the two parish councils for Woodlands Park and hadn't had a reply. And I said I would chase.
do you know how long ago the email was? Was it long before Christmas?
Well, I don't know.
Because
It
I
didn't say,
would certainly
but,
know why Stephen would have not replied if it was over the Christmas
No, it was
period.
to the parish councillors for Woodlands Park.
Oh,
Michael
okay.
Sudesh.
Yeah.
Right.
Sudesh actually messaged me today to clarify, was the meeting on tonight? And I said, yes, it is. So,
She's not seen all the paperwork. There's been loads going
I'm
out.
not sure why she's not here.
Okay,
Anyway.
anyway. So I'm not the wiser
No.
in terms of where we're at with that one. CCTV camera replacement repair, that should have happened, as I say, 3rd or 4th. The email came through from Ace saying the cameras are being replaced or new ones being installed 3rd or 4th of January. I haven't been up there. I should have gone up today and had a look, but I don't know. And we've had clearance from the insurance company that they will pay out on the vandalised ones. Okay. Pig Park, I contacted Claire Pig at the borough, who is effectively liaising with the wood carver, and asked her if there had been any update. I know it was being measured up in October. I know he picked up the piece of oak that he was going to carve it from. He wasn't going to remove it until he'd redone the new one, and then he would take the old one away and obviously do the work to that. So she hadn't had an update, so she was chasing him for an update. So once I know that, I'll let you know. But obviously we've not paid. We've only paid the deposit, so we won't pay until it's completed. And seats, I think Parish Council agreed, and I just want confirmation, a seat to go in on Ashmead Road at the West Way end, if you remember. I think, although I mentioned it in my calculations for the end of year, I think we don't do that now really till late spring, summer. We don't really want to install it in the winter, do we? Really? Or
Okay,
better
March.
just waiting. Yeah, so order it maybe March and
Get it in.
April. Yeah.
We are going to get some nice weather again one day.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No,
And
no.
it's going to be on a proper base, so it's not like a mud fest with
No.
the feet, right?
But if it's pretty muddy when they start to dig it and put the concrete in, it's...
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so we can go ahead with that one. And then it's just other seats up there. I'm just waiting for someone to come back and say whether they think they want some more.
Yeah.
Or what they want.
Okay.
That's it. So now you're on to 8, which is your...
Sorry, my apologies. Yeah, NDP, I've been somewhat overtaken by events over the Christmas period, so I haven't made any progress on it. It's going to happen very shortly. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Item 9, to receive an update on meeting dates, including the May Parish Council meeting and the Annual Parish meeting.
Right, well, we know that the May meeting's got to change because of elections. So I put in the notes there, I was hoping we could have that on the Wednesday the 17th of May, but I've got to wait for the church office to open up again to confirm rooms. And I put to try and aim to have the parish assembly, the parish meeting at the end of May. So, well, towards the end of May, so it avoids the school holidays and it avoids Easter. So that would be a sensible thing to do, so, and after the elections. So once I know, I'll let people know.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
Right, item 10, report from the Borough Councillors.
We haven't submitted a report, Chair, in view of the festive period, but happy to answer any questions.
Could
Peter, yes.
Could I comment on last month, which I didn't see until after the meeting, and also what was put in the minutes about an average. My friend here was commented on it already, but I'm also very concerned that the police have said that an average of 37 miles an hour is acceptable. Is it possible to get the exact number greater than the threshold of 35? We last had it done in 2011, and they did a nice table of number of vehicles passing the point per day and the number over 35 miles per hour. And in fact, on the eastbound, they found 25% of motorists exceeded the threshold being the point at which you could get a fine. Now, 37 miles an hour is average, is quite a lot above the 30 mile an hour limit, and I can't accept that the police should say that is reasonable. So I'm interested in the exact number that they did get over 35. It was quite interesting that you said that they'd had 16,720 vehicles passing over the week. 11 years ago, it was 16,470, only 250 less. So it's quite interesting that the number of people driving along that stretch hasn't really significantly increased in 11 years.
I mean, I'm passing on to the messenger, the council itself doesn't do speeding, apart from the mayor's speed vehicle, which can only pass the information on to the police. It's the police who are responsible for speed, and they take the figures, they take the data, they issue the fines. But I'm more than happy to pass on your comments, but you can do that, you know, yourself with the police. I know that they have the regular cop shop, coffee with the cops. I know you've been to that, Mark, so have I. Go along.
I couldn't go this Monday.
No, I know the nice policeman popped in to see us. He's been poorly and he's still working, so he's a smashing chap. More than happy to discuss it. Although, really, these things are probably better taken to the traffic department themselves, because even he's only a messenger. Do you know what I mean? So he gets the data given to him with the recommendations themselves. But it really is a police issue.
But I think it's a valid point, though, that an average is...
Oh, I agree with everything Peter said. Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
So should we try and push back on that?
Well, by all means,
Can you
yeah.
help?
Yeah.
Can you help Charles with an appropriate email?
Yeah, it might be better coming from the parish council, you know.
Oh, I think from the transport portfolio holder as well.
Well, you see, they're in Isa Town. I mean, I wish that there were a lot more, there was a lot more visibility of enforcement of speed limits by the police. We don't see that very often.
Right.
When we've had our meetings, and you will know this, Mark, with the local police officers and the commanding officers, we've said that one of our priorities is speeding. That is repeatedly lacking in subsequent prosecutions and enforcement. It's very difficult to get the police to take, as you've noted from the comments that you've made, Pete, it's very difficult to get the police to take this as a serious issue. It was mentioned at the last full council meeting that there was a lack of enforcement of the average speed cameras in the manner that they should be enforced. The police will tell you that they're strapped with resources because the number of offences is so great, and therefore the court time and all the rest of it, but I think that merely highlights the problem itself. So I would encourage the parish council to get involved. I make my own submissions, and so I think coming from another body, it would seem as if it's not just like the hobby horse that we as councillors have.
Well, I mean, the higher the average speed, the more probability of somebody getting hurt, seriously hurt, or even killed. And any injury has quite expensive on the NHS and other people. You know, so
I completely agree with everything you said, Peter.
So,
I was going to say, do we have a contact for the traffic?
I can give that to you.
Yeah, if you do, then I've got somewhere to go, haven't I?
Yeah, no, I can give that to you, so I'll do that now.
Lovely.
Yeah.
any other points or queries for Charlie? If not, move on. Okay, thank you very much. Correspondence, item 11, correspondence.
Well, I've listed that.
So in sewer supporting documentation.
Yeah, sorry, yes. The only things I thought, I didn't know if Peter might have been interested in the Bedfordshire Bus Users Forum, this plan group. I didn't know. I did circulate it to everybody, but I thought that might be of interest to you. Then obviously there was the police report, because I always go out and ask if they can come, and obviously if they can't, that's the case. But he did send out some information, so I'll pick out bits of that and put it into the minutes when I put them together.
Yeah. I would urge everyone to come along to the Parish and Town Council Network meeting on the 26th of January. If they are under-attended, we are probably one of the better parishes for doing that, but there are quite a few parishes who seem to be, who are persistent non-attenders, which I just think is a bit of a waste of time. They're missing out on the chance to find out what's going on, missing out the chance to ask a few questions. Alistair, you're fairly common, aren't you? Frequently attend, Peter occasionally as well.
I do, and that reminds me that I owe them a note from the Sustainable Transport people, which does relate to Waveney Green, and specifically Cycle Route 7, which I know is a bête noire for Peter, and that is removing it from Avon Drive and putting it on a shared use track on the side of Waveney Green, which coincidentally is a footpath that needs resurfacing anyway. But I do owe them a note on that, and I've forgotten about it, but I will do that.
Would you mind circulating that to us as well? Is that
Absolutely.
appropriate?
Basically, my feeling is, with the cycle route, you're going along a road which is width restricted anyway for pedestrian crossings, which is fine. There's parked cars and all the rest of it, and it's also extremely busy, as we know. And then you're supposed to navigate around the top of the roundabout on Waveney Avenue, which is dangerous, in my opinion. So getting them off-road and then allowing them to cut across into the right-hand side of Waveney Avenue, in my opinion, will be better. And they did say send in a note with some photographs, and I neglected to do that. But as the next meeting is like next week or whatever it is, 2 weeks,
2 weeks, yeah.
I need to get that done.
Thanks, Alistair.
A couple of things that aren't on there. One was a comment was made, could we not have a fountain in the ponds adjacent to the bridle path in Woodlands Park, rather like the one on Ruxmead? I think Simon put the picture of Ruxmead fountain on the front of the website to make it look attractive, and the comments obviously came back. First of all, about the parking on the grass. A comment came in about parking on the grass, and I went back and said I'm fairly sure that's all solved with the grass screed, because I don't think there's anywhere else you can put grass screed because of trees, and also therefore I don't think there's many places people can park, are there? So it could have been a comment from somebody who's not been round that side for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the grass creek thing was a great success, to be honest. But,
Well, they do work really well, and it lasts for years and years.
When did I pay for the pond originally, and out of our ward funds? So maybe something
Maybe
Pond.
fountain.
Yeah.
Thing.
We put £2,000 into the
Yeah.
parish.
Subsequently, the parish helped with the connection charge and what have you. But we may like to put that forward for a ward fund for a future year.
The issue with that, so the one that's been mentioned is the one by Brixton Close, which is the smaller of the ponds.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably a slight challenge, and both of them serve as like storm. I don't
They
know
do.
the technical word.
Balancing
SUD,
ponds.
I think is the technical.
Balancing
Balancing
ponds.
Yeah, so they would. So possibly the level. I don't know if it's true. I don't really monitor them on a regular basis, but I suspect the levels may go up and down.
We go past there every day practically, don't we?
Yeah.
Certainly you do. Yeah.
Could you
So
do a daily
what
measurement?
would you say about the levels of the
But
pond?
they do go up and down. I mean, certainly the one close to Fernway, is is full of reeds and everything. I mean, it's beautiful,
Yeah.
wildlife and stuff. So I
Yes.
don't know how practical. I don't know the other one though. I don't know where the bridle path was.
It's
Just
just
as it goes
when you go
up.
up to from there and head up towards Andrew's Court. It's on the right. It's not so big.
Oh,
It's quite a small one,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
does get a bit.
Yeah, I don't know about that one as much. I don't know
But
about that one.
as I say, it does serve as a storm.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to get the borough to have a look at it, because it depends if you've got electricity connections to that, because that's what's relied on. But then the Ruxmead Pond levels go up and down because water feeds into
definitely.
that, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah. So it's perhaps an idea to explore, and as you say, let's put more fun idea.
Any correspondence to talk to?
No, the only other thing I wanted to mention is the cantilever swing.
Oh, yeah.
Because as I said, it's not on the agenda as such because it came up really at Christmas, and I assumed it could easily be fixed. And then it suddenly all disappeared, and I thought somebody had stolen it. This was just a link. So the whole mechanism, that is the top bit that brings down the sheds, that is failing, and they sent photographs, I think I sent them to Mark, that the inspector took to show that they're actually wearing away, or they've worn away, and it needs replacing. So the bulk of that quote is the equipment, which is Wick Street item. On top of that, there's a few £100 that will be to, obviously, they've disconnected the existing one, they've checked it and found out what's the matter and that it does need replacing. So I don't think there's a lot of option but to get that done, really. Otherwise, you just don't have a cantilever swing. The nest will then just be reattached back up. But it has been there certainly before my time in the parish council, so I think you've done quite well to not have any major expense today on that. Okay.
Can I just throw one last item? I've put again on table a piece of correspondence which is about trees.
Yes.
Woodlands Trust 3 trees. and there is an option to get hold of the free trees, but we have to apply by the 11th of January, before the 11th of January. I'm suggesting going for 2 packs, 1 pack, a hedge pack for Waveney Green somewhere, possibly near the wildfire meadow, and another pack for use up towards Woodlands Park somewhere, maybe Ashmead Road, which will be a copse pack. But we have to get agreement from the landowner for that, i.e. from the Borough Council. So the time is a bit short from this one, but I do like the idea of free stuff, to be honest.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah. All we can do is...
Are you okay? What I suggested is saying is, can we agree to apply for those packs? The COPS one is subject to getting agreement from the Borough Council for wherever we decide we want to put it in. And I put the onus on myself to basically come up with where it would be, and it would be in consultation with anyone who's interested, from either residents or other councillors. But having got that agreement, I then need to obviously apply and actually say this is where they're going to be.
Yeah.
So, is that okay?
Yeah.
And they'll be arriving in March if we're lucky. Okay, good.
And they're only like little dinky things, so they're not like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
not too big.
it's not a huge effort.
And hopefully the ground will be soft enough to dig as well. It's the other big problem.
They'll last as long until the lawnmower man comes along.
Tidy it up.
Oh, so positive.
On that note, are there any daffodils around the signs, Mark?
I haven't checked to see if they're regrowing.
Won't be there yet, will they?
I can see
Some
all the
of them
sun
are
coming up
already, I've
today.
seen some.
Yeah,
Well,
the
the
rays,
lawnmower to
actually.
finish those
Right,
off.
okay. Anyway, moving on. So that's in correspondence. So next item 12, the date of next meeting, which is on the 2nd of February. I've got 7 here. All right. So therefore, thanks for coming along tonight.
Thank you.
And